everybody, Levi here with Skycivic. And if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we automate interactions between public organizations and citizens using chatbots. Today's video is going to look at FDIC's failed bank information page. Specifically, we're going to look at the most recent failed bank, which is Enloe State Bank. And we're going to go through what's currently offered by FDIC. And then we also have built a demo or a prototype of our solution to show how this information can be handled a different way, displayed to the user in a different manner, and how services can be automated for them. So as you can see right here, I have this web page pulled up with some information from Enloe State Bank. First and foremost, it is pretty similar to other public organizations, government agencies, that there is a significant amount of text on the page. It's very text heavy, and as a user, it is hard for me to read through this to understand it. It's overwhelming typically. So I will point out here that there is this kind of orientation text that has some just very generic information about how the bank failed. FDIC was named receiver, and Legend Bank, that all deposits, insured deposits, have been transferred to Legend Bank. And then we have this little container here that has probably what would be considered very common information, FAQs, it's a PDF, press release on it, a couple other services over here. First impression on this is PDFs are actually not mobilely responsive. So at least 50% of your users are on mobile, if not more. If they click this PDF, they're going to have to zoom in to read each question, and then also stay zoomed in to read the answers, but scroll left to right on their phone to see them. It's very off-putting to a lot of users, and it's not something that you'll typically see mobile users enjoying that experience. Also, text on a page on a mobile is pretty tough to wade through as well. It's already difficult on desktop, but it gets a little bit more on mobile. So if we drop down a little bit more, we have these three containers that basically have situations, citizens or user situations, which is I have a deposit account, I have a loan, or I'm owed money by Enloe for services or products. So as a user, I know all the information in this container applies to a deposit account. However, there's a lot of conditions and links and stuff in here that can make it very difficult for me as a user trying to parse through this information to determine which ones apply to me. So right there, I might be overwhelmed and may just want to call the customer call center. Every time that happens, that's another call. It's more time, more wait time, more strain on the call center employees, and more chance that they're actually going to give out inaccurate or imprecise information, not stay as consistent in their responses, because frankly, they're being bombarded by every single person that feels that this information is hard for them to parse through. So they're just going to call the number. So that's kind of a quick breakdown of this what we call above the fold, the first thing you see, at least on a laptop. As we scroll down, we see there's just a lot more text. It has some kind of tabbing to show what it applies to, but still, it's just really hard to consume all of this and understand what applies to me and what doesn't. So I don't know if you notice, but we have our solution actually loaded onto this page through a little magic here. This is exactly how this appears on other government web pages. They have their own branding, of course, their own call out, but there's a call out to kind of orientate the user as to what is going on here. And then this little floating widget. This can be on any page. We can also change which bot is in this depending on the page. So we can load chatbots specific to the web page and the information contained that can automate those processes and that information. So as we'll see here, this chatbot is actually specifically for Enloe State Bank. It has information about them and resources and services for that. You'll notice too the tone is much different between this versus the web page. Conversational, talking to the user, much more engaging. And you'll see that we, instead of saying, if you have a deposit account, we say, I have a deposit account. I have a loan. I'm owed money for a service or product. This allows the user to own their selections. It's much more specific to their situation than what's currently being offered. Also, we always offer a way to kind of quickly get in contact with the customer call center. There's no reason to force people to find that number, which right now you do have to scroll way down to the bottom. So you're basically forcing them to get frustrated with the current mass amount of text, and then continue to get frustrated to find the number to get their answers. So we just offer that very simple, easy way for them to find the information whenever they may need it. But I'm going to move forward here with I have a loan. Right off the bat, through our conversational message bubbles, we tell them pretty important information, like continue making your payments, very important, and whatnot. Also, quick note: the user can scroll the whole chat conversation as it happens, so they can reread anything. These messages are timed, usually with about average reading speed. But they can also scroll back up, find that information. Nothing's ever lost, so to speak. And I'm going to just kind of keep drilling down here. This is really important here. Most, from what our understanding of failed banks is, if there is an inquiring institution, most of the services and information and needs of the customer go straight to that acquiring institution. FDIC actually doesn't have much to do in those situations, which is actually a great thing. And it's really important to let the user know early on in that process. Once again, this is a call that you're cutting out of your call center. You don't need that call. Why bog it down when we can let them know right away, hey, Legend Bank's the place you need to go. Here's their number. Here's their hours. Give them a call. We could even say, here's an email to contact them, whatever that information may be. But we do offer this link, and so this is going to be pretty nice feature, and you're going to see it here. So it opens a new tab. We're going to another FDIC web page. This one's obtaining a lien release, and we have loaded a new chatbot specific to obtaining a lien release. They're already in a chat conversation with us. There'd be no reason to force them to reopen that widget, so we just auto-opened it, and it's based on the web page specific to obtaining lien release. So I'm going to move through this real quick and show you how this differs from the current web page. So right here through the first part, we cut straight to the chase and say enter the name of your bank, because if you look at the current web page, the most important process in this is determining if they're in the failed bank database or not. Current setup is, though, you have to click a button, go to a new web page, do that search, determine if it is, and if it is, then you come back here. That's a whole lot of work for something that could be simply typed in right here. So first things first, I'm going to show you what happens if they enter a credit union. So Super Credit Union, they submit that. We take them to some curated information that says FDIC does not process lien releases for credit unions. However, NCUA does. Here's an option to visit their website to find more resources. This is a much more elegant way to handle specific conditions like this than somewhere in here, right here, a bullet point that mentions that this doesn't apply. But again, it's lost in all of this text, and you already asked them to go to another web page to determine if their bank was in it anyways, and then come back here to find all this information. You can see how a user would easily start getting frustrated by this process. And it's really, it is an overly complicated process for no reason. And as you can see in our chatbot version, it's handled a lot more elegantly. So now I'm going to search Enloe State Bank. It's going to say that FDIC is the receiver for this. It's going to say that for any bank at this point because we're not actually running an API connection to the failed bank database, but we can very simply, where whatever they enter is checked against that database, and it either pulls back a yes, this is in there, or a no, this isn't. And if it's a no, we can move them to further information. If it's a credit union, we'll show them what I just showed you there. But if it's a bank, it's not a credit union, but not in the failed bank list, we'll let them know and maybe provide them with some additional resources if it's applicable. Otherwise, they'll see something like this. And you'll notice this is very similar to this, where if you click on one of these options, and this is handled pretty elegantly, it explains the required documents, but then it drops you into here, which is additional information about those documents, and then we fall into the same problem, the same routine of too much text on a page with multiple steps. And are there conditions that apply to me? Are there not? It's hard to tell as a user. Now, if we drop over to our solution, it handles that initial part very similarly, but then it offers continued follow-up selections. Instead of pasting all that information in front of the user, it says, would you like to submit documents? Would you like to review documents? This runs them through exactly what type of documents are required. We can even put screenshots of sample documents. We can embed YouTube videos to explain maybe more complicated issues with documents, as well as just using text and explaining it. And we also handle the fees a little more elegantly as an option. If they would like to know what the fee is, they can click this and move forward to that. But for sake of time, I'm just going to move through submitting this, and it's very similar to what's already there. It just tells them fax or if over 25 pages by mail, and here's the information to do that. Now, our chatbot systems do have a feature for uploading documents. So it is possible currently to actually upload digital copies of documentation and transfer them to database, which is much faster than fax, much faster than mail, and it's also super secure. It's not using email, but it's actually transferring that information to a database where it's secure. It can drastically change the time it takes to handle these processes. Something to keep in mind, but for the sake of this demo, we're not actually, we haven't implemented that, but it is something to keep in mind. And then after somebody has moved through here, they may actually then have want to know how long it takes to get a response to my lien request or some of this other information. Once again, like I talked about earlier, we like to drop them back into menus and allow them to continue using those information resources instead of forcing them down a specific path. Now I'm going to click on this. I can't find what I'm looking for, just to demo what it looks like. And as you see right here, we put the number to the customer service center up front with the hours. A nice feature that we can easily implement is check the time, the current central time, and say, is it within the parameters of 8 a.m. or 4 p.m.? If it's not, we don't even show them this information up front. We say, our customer call center is closed right now, but you can submit your information through this chatbot interaction, and a customer service representative will get back with you as soon as possible when we resume normal business operation. Um, it's a lot nicer to have something like that, an option for your users like that, because chatbots are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't care about holidays. They don't care about weekends. They're always there. So um, the user will always have an option to submit their contact information and what they're looking for, and it can be easily handled by those customer service reps when they return, because they'll have in order of submission, they'll have it all within order in their email with that contact information and their issue easily. It's a really clean report that they'll be able to read and respond to them via email, phone number, whatever it may be, depending on the situation. So I'm going to run through that real quick, show how this works. Ask for the first name. Much different than a form. Forms are very unengaging. This is much more engaging. For example, it just took my name and um, used it in the conversation. So it's actually addressing me by my name, which is pretty nice. And here it asks for additional information, like what was it that you were looking for that you couldn't find. This is super helpful to your call center reps. If they know prior to contacting that customer what their issue is, they can prepare resources. In fact, it may be one of those commonly asked questions that they can send an email to saying, here's exactly what you need to do. And they've already had that email pre canned, so to speak, and consistent. Send it out, easy to handle that, and they're there for follow on contact with the user if they need it. For now, I'm going to skip that. Okay, enter email address. These all validate too, so if I didn't enter it in the correct format, it would stop me and ask me to re-enter a correct email format. Phone number. Keep it super generic. And this is really a nice touch. We recall all the information they entered and just ask, is this correct? If it's not, we keep it elegant and simple to change it. So I might say, you know what, actually I want to use just my generic email that I use for everything, not my work email. And you'll see we drop back into review, and there's my name. Here's my new email to be submitted to the customer service rep. Change just like that. And now I want to submit it. When I hit that button, all that contact information is immediately emailed to customer service representatives. If they have a shared email, that's usually best pool, but it can actually be targeted to specific individuals too, depending on some factors. We can also integrate into ticketing systems through interaction. So we can set up a ticketing of this submission, and we can even send an email to the user and say, here's your reference number, here's your ticket number. Click this link to change any of your information you entered on in relation to this ticket number. So they might say, you know what, I entered the wrong phone number. I know you asked me to review it, but I made a mistake. I'm going to fix that right now through my email that's automated, sent right to their phone. They can change that. And it can also log them as a ticket. It's very easy to do from our end. And then this last little bit, really helpful, is it drops them into a automated feedback interaction. And these are, they could shut this down. They could close the chatbot down, say I don't want to give feedback, but it's an option. And since it's kind of seamless into the conversation, a lot of users actually follow through with giving some sort of feedback, even if it's just star ratings. Sometimes it's detailed feedback, which that option will be coming up shortly. And it's actually really, really valuable to the process of understanding how you're delivering information to users, and furthermore, it actually gives you a much greater understanding of your overall digital offerings. Because if there's an issue with a web page, there's issue with other apps or the chatbot or multiple other things you might not even be able to think of. They will tell you through the chatbot, since giving feedback is so simple in this kind of conversational flow. It's seamless. They'll tell you about everything they've found wrong, and I've seen this numerous times through government chatbots where citizens will tell the organization about everything that they had a problem with, even if it had nothing to do with the chatbot. Which is great, because that gives you as an organization a much greater understanding of your whole digital presence. I'm just going to skip here, but this would be a great time for them. That's where they would enter all that information. And and so here we are at the end of the conversation. I'm going to close this down, and that concludes this audit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like, we can continue conversations about what we can automate through the FDIC website. Have a great day.